Generally, to me, as I dabble in this kind of domain, it becomes clear that you really need a strong monetization platform. And it's this platform thinking of billing, subscription management, handling purchase, payment flows, and so on. It's really, these are platform functionalities. And if you build it as a platform, you will be in a much better place to kind of quickly adapt to business needs, as opposed to just building a system for this functionality, a system for that functionality, and then it's suddenly really hard to kind of just build this fluid and seamless experience. I'm Ben, I'm an engineering manager at Snyk. My team is in the growth group. So what we do is essentially, as a group, bunch of teams optimizing the growth funnel. But it turns out that kind of my team, the monetization team, is not just involved in all these growth initiatives, it's also building the monetization platform as we speak. So we're working with the kind of go-to-market team on the other side to build a very smooth and seamless self-serve experience. In our industry, I think we're somewhat special by being self-served. And we see it as one of the possible differentiators in the future when, a developer like you or me won't get some Snyk and they just click a bunch of buttons, edit the credit card details, and there you go, you have everything you want.
How are you currently thinking about your infrastructure? What's been working for you all? How do you set up? Do you want to kind of paint the picture of, how your current teams and structures and workflows looks like?
So the general big picture view is that we have kind of a go-to-market team that owns Salesforce, and pretty much all the deals live in Salesforce, which is a great tool. It's a great business application, but it doesn't really on its own provide a great user experience for self-serve. So there is kind of a very strong Salesforce kind of stronghold, you could say, that is serving as the back end. And on the other side of the spectrum, we have the web app with a nice purchase flow, with a plan configuration, and so on. And the question really, the exciting space, and that's kind of the space that my team is in between those two. So what's happening between the front end, where we want the best possible user experience, to the back end, where we use Salesforce as a mechanism to store the contracts and manage all these kind of subscription things. And in that middle space, that's where we're kind of building our own monetization domain. That is an abstraction over Salesforce. It's kind of customer facing. We speak about, the plans, the subscriptions, the billing details, just language. It's a domain language that the customer will understand and that we can then very easily translate into a nice user experience. And at the same time, it helps us because it takes what's somewhat cryptic in Salesforce, all these low-level concepts like contracts, orders. I don't quite understand enough about Salesforce to say more than that, but I guess I do know that the domain model of Salesforce is highly complex. Mm-hmm. And we kind of take that and build a very simple domain model on top.
Yeah. So would it be fair to say that basically your team is responsible to help translate or mediate between what's happening in the Salesforce realm when in the context of, self-service, pricing and deals and you name it, to the customer experience and the application side?
Yes.
And
that's exactly it.
And besides Salesforce and your environment from the application side, are there any other tools or interesting components that are involved?
So there's a bunch of, I would say, business applications on the go-to-market side that we integrate with. Mm-hmm. And the payment provider is an interesting relationship because we capture payment data, but we don't actually charge. It's the go-to-market team that charges.
Oh, cool. It's basically decoupled, right?
It's decoupled, which is a kind of It's interesting. You're touching on an interesting observation here because it's decoupled. There can be interesting synchronization issues where we capture payment data and 10 minutes later we charge, that charge fails because insufficient funds or another reason. And then we need to learn about that and inform the user. And I guess that's at the moment, at least, kind
For
of.
instance, that's a like a interesting pitfall to think about, or something an obstacle that you need to be aware of and think of
Yes.
how to address. When you think so, if I understand the architecture, would it be fair to say that Salesforce is like it's like the source of truth that drives the okay.
And that's very important. That's like because there's so much sales-led activity. Having Salesforce as the backbone, as a source of truth, where pricing is there, all the deals are there. That's really a business requirement.
Do you want to maybe share just a bit on the architecture from your side of the road, like anything that so that we can then maybe paint a picture of where this existing thing is going to go?
Yes, from our side, so we're looking at a bunch of APIs that we're building at the moment. So we have a pricing API, we have a plan API. The pricing API gives you accurate pricing for a given plan configuration. The plan API gives you kind of just a summary of all the plans you can get with all the information. We're building a subscription API, which allows you to purchase, cancel, modify subscriptions. Then a billing details to kind of change your address, stuff like that. So we kind of built this high-level API on top of these various kind of business applications. And this is ultimately what will help us build the user experience out.
Yeah, and I think it will allow you that not only flexibility to improve the customer experience and overall self-service experience, but also give you the ability to drive changes faster, I guess, right? Like be able to
That's the idea. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So what kind of challenges does it bring? I mean, you described earlier that you were somewhat relying on the business applications as the vehicle to manage all this operation. What kind of challenges or examples of? I always like to bring those recent tidbits or recent stories of things that have occurred.
Yeah, sure thing. So what's becoming increasingly clear is as we scale, as we get more and more purchases and uptime becomes a big deal, is that relying on business applications, having that as a source of truth can be problematic, because if they have a maintenance window, and they do every quarter, it shouldn't be for long, couple of minutes at best. But yeah, you don't want to go down because Salesforce has a maintenance window. And you don't want to be able, we want to be able to capture a purchase even when Salesforce is down. So like an emerging thought, I would say, is the realization that we shouldn't put the business applications in the critical path, but instead we should start decoupling these systems. We definitely want to use Salesforce as the source of truth. At the same time, we also want to be able to kind of run the self-serve experience and systems without kind of having a synchronous communication between them.
Yeah, it's basically the upside of the former story, right? Like if earlier we said, we might not be able to charge because of the same logic. Now we actually, the upside is we can grant our customer, to continue with their journey, to continue with their experience. And then, that's the upside, I guess, of the same thing. Yes. In a way.
Yes, that's it. So that's really the kind of thinking of the business applications, the go-to-market stack, and kind of the high-level APIs. Think of an event bus between them. And that, well, we're not there yet, but we're thinking that it could well be that in the future we'll head into that direction, just to provide uptime, to provide stability, and do not rely on these kind of business applications too much, whilst using them as a source of truth.
So you talk about it and I get the goosebump. I don't know why. It's so weird that those type of conversations are the ones that make me so energized. But I think it's like, to me, it's the future. Like for me, that's the thing that's going to help organizations grow, because you have to have that in order to, when you think about a product in a company like Snyk, right? Like you think about massive amounts of developers out there that are, day by day are being assisted and being helped by this, and, help them shape a better secure code, right? So the ability to help them not only, experience the product, but also engage and expand their usage and expand their, additional features and components that you can offer. I think that is huge. Like, I don't know why, but every time I hear about it, I'm like, yes, this is.
Yeah, that's where you add value. You give someone product value right there with a few button clicks. It's fascinating stuff.
Yeah, short circuiting time to value. I think it's, it's a really good reason to, start the day. How are you thinking about this infrastructure, this architecture from your end going forward? Like I think we were able to establish the dynamics between Salesforce and your services, but maybe how are you currently thinking about those services? What do you think that it's going to be? What are the key components that you think are going to do the major impact as you scale?
I guess it's really building this API out to provide just all the user experiences that we intend to provide. That's kind of the next couple steps. It's also that these APIs can be consumed by internal teams to start with, because we hold very important information. We can tell you what plan is a customer on, what are they entitled to use, what products have they purchased, stuff like that. And that then, of course, can provide valuable information for, say, the IDE team or, other parts in the company that can benefit from that information. So yeah, making these APIs accessible to teams internally. And then who knows, there's kind of a vague plan to maybe go via marketplaces. And then again, these APIs can be the driver of that. You can say, hey, here's a marketplace, use our APIs to start trials, to change a plan, to even purchase a plan. So yeah, kind of making that's thinking ahead too much, maybe, whether it will happen or not.
I like it. It's like, I like to call it like the buying experience is right. Like it's the transformation of the buying experience. It's a whole new game once you're able to be that nimble in the way you offer different ways to consume the product. So now it's like everything is an option, right? Like, who knows? Maybe we're gonna go all the way a la carte kind of experience. And what do you feel that, what are maybe some moments that feel like, okay, this is something that is helping us, be, have the agency we need to drive this?
As you pointed out, there's so many stakeholders involved, and it's really keeping all your rows, all the ducks in a row, that's important here. Now, I'm an engineering manager. I'm not kind of the person. I try to do my part, but it's difficult for me to reach out to all these stakeholders, and I'm not involved in kind of these strategic conversations. But yeah, I guess keeping.
Do you have like regulars on the, like, all the team leads that are involved? Like, do you have like I don't know, like
we do. We have like a weekly catch up, mainly kind of around delivery, like hands-on delivery update. But of course, there's a lot of strategic kind of decisions that go all the way up and come down, and but it's
maybe we can look at it from an engineering standpoint. You said that you all are planning to have your APIs exposed for other engineering teams internally. Do you do like this? Do you have like this? How are you thinking about exposing them to others? Like, are you doing some documentation stuff and exposing them to others? Like,
so all our APIs are open API spec'd. So we have a catalog of all our APIs. It's in fact all the APIs that Snyk, and teams can go essentially fish for their favorite API, pick it, and then talk to it. So we
Cool.
have this catalog. We also have, of course, we reach out to these teams to figure out what their use cases are, so we can bake that into when we build the APIs. So it's a mix of kind of reach out, figuring out what teams want, and then offering that via open API spec.
What are the top 3 challenges or pain points as you were thinking about this thing from an engineering standpoint, actually? Like, as I'm guessing you did some design work, and we're trying to unfold all the different use cases that you're gonna need to support. So maybe like, if I were to go in and have to design this this services myself, what are things that you believe I should be thinking of, like I should consider?
So I embrace iterations, and early days, I think it's absolutely fine to rely on business applications. You want to get things out of the door quickly, and you should do whatever that is. If it's technically not the most beautiful solution, that's absolutely fine. It's about speed and go-to-market speed, essentially. As that system matures, yes, I think you want to start decoupling business applications from the user experience. I think it's a limiting factor. Also, I would kind of advise you that you understand there are different, very often people that build go-to-markets, like the business applications, they have a different background, right? They're good at configuring systems, understanding how systems play together, all this kind of stuff, hugely valuable, but they're not necessarily good at crafting the most beautiful user experience. And I think there is something around like educating. I think it goes both way, really. As kind of someone building a good user experience, you need to go and appreciate the business application, what they can do and how valuable they are. And likewise, for go-to-market kind of folk, it's good to help them educate of how important user experience is and what we need to do to achieve that. So I guess apart from a technical advice, I would point to have an awareness around the different mindsets that different people have in the company, and help to kind of shape the understanding that user experience at the end of the day is really important.
Yeah, I love it. And I think it all, I guess, comes down to, in a way, it's like, if you're thinking about going to market in both motions, right, like product led and sales led, obviously some tension will always live between the two, and different individuals with different backgrounds are able to drive these different motions home with success. And so the ability to create good communication bridges, and an ability to have I don't know if empathy sounds like a cliche, but the ability to understand how the other side is thinking about those problems and how can we kind of engage. I guess it's helpful not just from healthy collaboration type of motion, but also just it's helpful when you start designing those systems and architecture and think about the different considerations that other organizations might have.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
You and I have been talking a lot about monetization, so I wonder if you have some final words about the concept of monetization in SaaS, or maybe the concept of where does it all goes? Like maybe that.
I think it's a great question, and I joined Snyk almost a year ago now, and it's the first time I work in billing monetization. So take what I say with a pinch of salt. But generally, to me, as I dabble in this kind of domain, it becomes clear that you really need a strong monetization platform. And it's this platform thinking of billing, subscription management, handling purchase, payment flows, and so on. It's really, these are platform functionalities. And if you build it as a platform, you will be in a much better place to kind of quickly adapt to business needs. as opposed to just building a system for this functionality, a system for that functionality, and then it's suddenly really hard to kind of just build this this fluid and seamless experience. And yeah, that's kind of the learning that I got to myself. So let's think about all these kind of user functions, about the different integrations, go to market, and kind of user experience. Let's think of the platform underneath that powers it.